हाय फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम टू द चैनल जेवी एंड सेवी मेड सिंपल। तो दोस्तों आईआईबीएफ के द्वारा जो हमारा सीसीपी है, सर्टिफाइड क्रेडिट प्रोफेशनल है, का एग्जामिनेशन होता है दोस्तों। इसका प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन आपके सामने मैं लेकर आया हूं ताकि आप देख पाएँ कि इसका जो बल्क सिलेबस है उसमें क्या टॉपिक से सवाल बराबर पूछा जा रहा है, और ताकि आपका प्रिपरेशन उसके अकॉर्डिंगली अलाइन हो, आप समझ पाए कि हाँ ये टॉपिक, दिस टॉपिक इज वेरी मच इंपॉर्टेंट, सो आवर utmost priority should be to complete this topic at the first level. So this is a previous year question, almost 20 to 25 question I am covering in this particular session, and similarly we will have part wise session depending on your response. If you think that this video is useful to you and you write in the comment section part 2, I will bring part 2 also. So without wasting our time, let's begin our session with the first question that we have. So we are diving into an important financial concept that is called debt equity ratio, right? That is called DER. We call DER or debt equity ratio. So let's break down the question. XYZ Limited is a company that manufactures electronic components, and the company it has recently completed a major expansion project which has affected its capital structure, right? And here is the financial data we are working with. The first is long term debt, $5 lakh. The next is current liability, $2 lakh. Shareholder equity, $4 lakh. Net income, $50,000. And total asset, $12 lakh. Now the question asks us to calculate the debt equity ratio, that is called DER. And options have been given. There are 4 options. Okay, so now which one is it? So first let's define what we are calculating. We are calculating the debt equity ratio, that is called DER. So this ratio shows the relationship between the company debt and net equity. Two things are there. Now, the first thing is company debt, and the second thing is equity. So in simpler terms, it tells us how much debt the company has for every dollar of equity. Now to calculate this ratio, we've only considered long-term debt. So we are not including current liability in our calculation, just the long-term debt. Right to understand, this is very important. We are including only long-term debt, right? So we will modify our formula like this. DER is equal to long-term debt. Earlier I wrote debt, but now I am writing long-term debt divided by shareholders equity. So now in this case, can you tell me what is the long term debt? Let me move to the previous slide, and you can see it here. Long term debt is how much? $5 lakh. So our numerator will be how much? Our numerator will be $5 lakh. And what about the shareholder equity? It is nothing but $4 lakh. So if we divide both of them, what you will get? You will get debt equity ratio which is equal to 1.25. If you divide both of them, you will get 1.25. So the correct answer is option number A, that is 1.25. So now the question is, what does this 1.25 really means? Well, it tells us that XYZ Limited has 1.25 of long term debt for every dollar of equity. यानी $1 इक्विटी के लिए, $1 इक्विटी के लिए, यानी ₹1 इक्विटी के लिए कंपनी एक्स के पास, जो XYZ के पास टोटल $1.25 जो है डेप्ट है. तो you can see it clearly that ratio is greater than 1. That means DER is greater than 1. So a ratio D greater than 1 indicates that company is using more debt than equity. Obviously ये ratio क्या indicate कर रहा है? ये company जो है debt ज़्यादा यूज कर रही है as compared to equity to finance its operation. ऐसे केस में क्या होगा कि एक्सपेंशन प्रोजेक्ट लाइकली इंक्रीज द कंपनी रिलायंस ऑन डेप्ट. तो ऑब्वियसली बात है, इन सच केस द एक्सपेंशन project is likely increase the company reliance on debt, which is reflected in the debt equity ratio. तो दोस्तों ये डेप्ट इक्विटी रेशियो को समझना बहुत जरूरी है, क्योंकि ये इन्वेस्टर को और स्टेक होल्डर को एक इंसाइट प्रोवाइड करता है कि कितना रिस्की कंपनी का फाइनेंशियल स्ट्रक्चर हो सकता है. यदि ये रेशियो ज़्यादा है, मतलब कि रिस्क ज़्यादा है, खासकर यदि कंपनी स्ट्रगल कर रही है अपने डेप्ट ऑब्लिगेशन को मीट करने के लिए. सो रिमेंबर, हायर रेशियो कुड मीन्स मोर रिस्क, स्पेशली इफ द कंपनी स्ट्रगल टू मीट द डेप्ट ऑब्लिगेशन. So this was about the question number 1. The correct answer is 1.25. Now let's move on to the question number 2. So in this question we are going to interpret the debt equity ratio we calculated the earlier for one XYZ Limited. Okay, so first question is what does the debt to equity ratio is of 1.25 indicates about XYZ limited financial structure. Earlier we have about this answer 1.25. Now it asks to interpretation. Options are: the company is heavily reliant on equity financing, the company is using more debt related to equity, the company has an optimal capital structure, the company has no debt. Equity ratio है यानी DER is 1.25. What does it mean? It clearly means that for every dollar of for every one unit of equity, so it means for every 1 unit of equity the company has 1.25 unit of debt. That is means सिंपल सा मतलब है कि एक यूनिट इक्विटी के लिए कंपनी के पास 1.25 यूनिट है डेप्ट का. इन सिंपलर टर्म्स XYZ लिमिटेड इज यूजिंग मोर डेप्ट देन इक्विटी टू फाइनेंस इट ऑपरेशन. दिस इज द की इंडिकेटर दैट कंपनी इज रिलाइंग हैविली ऑन बोरोड फंड. इसका मतलब यही ना हुआ कि कंपनी जो है हैविली रिलाई कर रही है किस पे, बोरोड फंड पे रिलाई कर रही है ताकि अपने बिजनेस एक्टिविटी को फिल करें. चलिए ऑप्शन वाइज चलते हैं. पहला ऑप्शन कह रहा है कि कंपनी इज हेवली रिलायंट ऑन इक्विटी फाइनेंसिंग. तो ये सही तब होता जब रेशियो 1 से कम होता, ठीक है, तब ये सही होता. लेकिन इस केस में रेशियो 1.25 है तो ये ऑप्शन गलत है. ऑप्शन बी कह रहा है कि द कंपनी इज यूजिंग मोर डेप्ट रिलेटिव टू इट्स इक्विटी. ये बिल्कुल सही है. 1.25 रेशियो यही इंडिकेट कर रहा है. ऑप्शन सी कर रहा है कि कंपनी हैज़ एन ऑप्टिमल कैपिटल स्ट्रक्चर. देखिए रेशियो यदि 1 के आसपास हो ना तब फिर वाइल रेशियो अराउंड 1 कुड बी कंसिडर्ड बैलेंस. वेदर इट इज ऑप्टिमल डिपेंड्स ऑन इंडस्ट्री, कंपनी गोल्स एंड अदर फैक्टर. ऑप्टिमल है या नहीं ये कंपनी गोल पे डिपेंड करता है, दूसरे फैक्टर्स पे डिपेंड करता है. लेकिन इस कंटेक्स्ट में हम सिंपली इंटरप्रेट कर सकते हैं कि ये रेशियो बेस्ट फिट नहीं है. ऑप्शन डी कर रहा है कंपनी हैज़ नो डेप्ट. ये तो ऑब्वियसली गलत है. द कंपनी हैज़ नो डेप्ट ऑब्वियसली विद अ रेशियो ऑफ 1.25. द कंपनी डज हैव अ डेप्ट एंड दिस ऑप्शन इज इनकरेक्ट. So what we can see that this ratio 1.25 suggests that the company is somewhat leveraged. So we can say that this ratio 1.25 suggests that company is somewhat leveraged, meaning it has taken on significant debt relative to its equity. A stakeholder who need to monitor this to ensure that company does not overextend itself and it end up in financial trouble, right? So you can see understanding the DER help us in assessing a company financial structure and potential risk. A ratio above 1 indicates a high reliant on debt, which could either be a strategic move or a potential risk depending on the situation. So hopefully this concept is clear now. चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं हम लोग. क्वेश्चन नंबर 3 पे आते हैं. देखिए ये एक सीरीज था, एक केस स्टडी था डेप्ट इक्विटी रेशियो पे. इस प्रकार के सवाल आए थे. क्वेश्चन ये आपसे पूछा जा रहा है कि when a company reduces its debt specifically how that affect the debt equity ratio. Now suppose the company reduces the debt, so how DER will be affected. So here is the scenario. if XYZ लिमिटेड अपने लॉन्ग टर्म डेप्ट को $1,00,000 से कम करना चाहते हैं और शेयर होल्डर के इक्विटी को कांस्टेंट रखना चाहते हैं तो नया DER क्या होगा. तो सबसे पहले आपको याद रखिए, रिमाइंड कीजिए अपने आप को. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल लेट अस रिमाइंड आवरसेल्फ ऑफ द ओरिजिनल DER विच वाज 1.25. वी हैव जस्ट कैलकुलेटेड. सो ओरिजिनली जो हमारा लॉन्ग टर्म डेप्ट था, ठीक है, लॉन्ग टर्म डेप्ट जो था ओरिजिनल, यहाँ पे मैं ओरिजिनल लिखता हूँ. सो ओरिजिनल जो लॉन्ग टर्म डेप्ट था दैट वाज हाउ मच, दैट वाज $5,00,000, राइट. एंड नाउ ओरिजिनल शेयर होल्डर इक्विटी, ओरिजिनल इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर का इक्विटी जो ओरिजिनल था हमारे पास वो था 4 लाख, राइट. तो ये तो ओरिजिनल वाली बात हो गई. अब क्या हुआ कि इसने डेप्ट को 1 लाख से कम कर लिया तो जो फाइनल डेप्ट है इट हैज़ रिड्यूस्ड बाय 1 लाख विच हैज़ बिकम $4,00,000, राइट. इट हैज़ बिकम $4,00,000 because it has been decreased by 1 lakh. You can see reduces long term debt by 1 lakh. So the shareholder equity remain constant. It is almost 4 lakh only, right. So now can you tell me what is the new DER? So new DER will be how much? This long term debt divided by shareholder equity, which is nothing but 1, right. So the correct answer is 1. Option number A is correct. That is what is the new DER, which is nothing but 1. So this new DER, what does it tells us? Well, now that the debt and equity are equal, XYZ has a balanced capital structure where every 1 unit of equity is matched with 1 unit of debt. This might be more comfortable position for the company as it reduces its financial risk by lowering the amount of debt. Reducing debt can be a smart move for a company if it want to decrease its financial risk, and it definitely affect key financial ratio like the DER. In the XYZ case, bringing the ratio down to 1 suggests a more balanced and potentially safer financial structure. Hopefully this concept is clear now. Now let's come to the next question. Next question is why might a company with a high debt equity ratio be considered a disadvantage? सो वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन कि किसी कंपनी का हाई DER है तो वो डिसएडवांटेज क्यों है. लेट्स गो थ्रू द ऑप्शन. फर्स्ट ऑप्शन से because it means the company is using more equity financing. This is actually wrong. Actually high DER suggests the opposite. It means company is using more debt, not equity. So option A is incorrect. Option B says because it indicates high dependency on debt which could affect its ability to service the debt in the event of low profitability. So this is the right answer. When we talk about high DER, if we talk about high debt equity ratio, it indicates that the company rely heavily on borrowed fund. What does it indicate? That company rely heavily on borrowed fund. Company is relying heavily on borrowed fund. If the company profit fall, it might struggle to make interest payment and repay the principal, putting it in a risky financial position. Right. So high DER, what does it mean? It indicates company rely heavily on borrowed fund, and in such case, if profit fall, it might struggle to make interest payment and repay the principal. So this is how this high DER is not considered an advantage; it is considered a disadvantage, right? So this is the correct answer, which could have. And suppose the company profit fall, low profit is there, then how company could manage its principal and interest payment, right? It could not manage. So option C says because it suggests the company is not investing enough in the capital intensive project. So while a high ratio could limit a company ability to invest in project, this is not the direct reason a high debt equity ratio is disadvantage. So this is not the best answer. And option D says because it means the company is highly profitable. So high DER does not directly indicate profitability. In fact, it could be the sign of financial strain if the company is unable to generate enough profit to service its debt. So option number B is the correct one. Right, a high DER shows the company is heavily reliant on debt to finance its operation. While debt can be cheaper source of funding than equity, especially when interest rates are low, it also comes with obligation like regular interest payment and eventually repaying the principal. If the company profit falls, it might struggle to meet these obligations, leading to financial distress or even bankruptcy in several situations. That's why a high DER can be risky, and why company with this kind of ratio might be at disadvantage compared to those with a low ratio. So in summary, while debt can be an effective way to fuel growth, too much of it can put a company at risk, especially if the profit is not stable. So always keep an eye on company debt equity ratio while analyzing its financial strength. So that's the point which we are covered in this particular slide. Let's move on to the next question. The next question says that why the debt equity ratio might not be the best tool for comparing company in different industry. Very good question. So there are four options are given. Option A says because different industry have different level of capital intensity. So what do you think? This is the correct answer. Industries like manufacturing. Let's talk about some industry like manufacturing and utilities, which are capital intensive industry. So these industry manufacturing are capital intensive. So they tend to have high DER. They have high debt equity ratio. They tends to have high DER due to large investment in long term asset. Why they have high DER? Because they have large investment in the long term asset. On the other hand, industry like technology industry, or suppose consulting industry, so these industry which are less capital intensive, they might have a lower DER, right? They might have lower DER. Why? Because this difference makes direct comparison between companies in different industry less meaningful, right? So option A is the correct one. Option B says because the ratio does not account for market condition. So while it is true that debt equity ratio does not reflect the market condition, this is not the reason it is not applicable for cross industry comparison. Option C says because companies in different industry uses different accounting practices. So different accounting practices can affect financial ratio, but this is not the primary reason that debt equity ratio might not be comparable across industry. Right. Option C says because companies in different industry uses different accounting practices. Different accounting practices can affect financial ratio, but this is not the primary reason. Option D says because it can only consider short term liabilities. Actually, the debt equity ratio focus on long term debt, not short term liability. So this option is also incorrect. What is the correct option? The correct option is option number A. So the debt equity ratio reflect how much a debt company is using to finance its operation as compared to equity. However, the amount of debt a company need can vary significantly depending on industry. For example, some industry that requires heavy investment in physical asset like manufacturing, they have typically high DER. This is because they often finance the large investment with debt. On the other hand, service-based industry or technology company might have lower DER. Come on to the next case study that we have, which is related to the PEP, right? Break even point. So let's see the question. The question is like this: ABC Limited manufactures and sell custom-made widget, and they want to determine their break-even point in units. So here are the financial details given, like selling price per unit is given $10, variable cost per unit is given $6, fixed cost is given $2,000, and the question is asking you to calculate how many. That is a break-even point you have to calculate. And what is break-even point? You know what is this break-even point? So this break-even point means what? How many unit does ABC Limited need to sell to break even? Friends, if you are preparing for CCP examination, that is IIBF certification course CCP, and if you are looking for any study material, a perfect study material which caters to your need, either in the form of PDF, videos, quizzes, previous year questions, then you can contact me on this particular number. We have an course available for the CCP examination, and this will help you to achieve good marks in the examination at with lower effort. With low effort, you can get the maximum output. So if you are interested in this, kindly WhatsApp me on the number shown on the screen, and in the description section also I have provided the link of the courses. Now let's come back to this particular question. So we have to calculate the break even point in units. So you know what is what is break even point. So see, first of all we will go through the formula, that is fixed cost divided by selling price per unit minus variable cost per unit, right? So this is how we calculate the break even point. So this is by using the formula, right? But I am telling you a best way to solve such type of problem. No, not using the formula, because sometimes if you wrongly wrongly remember the formula, everything will be wrong. So let me give you an insight into this thing. See, try to understand what I am saying, that suppose you have to draw this type of pie chart, okay? So this is a circle, okay, and this complete circle has two parts, right? So there is a selling price per unit, and there is a variable cost per unit, and there is a fixed cost per unit, right? So the total cost will comprise of two things. What is the meaning of this fixed cost? Fixed costs are the costs that do not change no matter how many units you produce. So this will not change, this will remain constant. What is the selling price? This is the amount that ABC Limited charges for each widget. And what is the variable cost? It is the cost to make each widget. See, let me make you understand using this particular circle. So this entire circle represents the selling price, and you know the basic formula, that selling price is equal to cost price plus profit, or it may be loss minus loss, right? This is the thing, okay? So what you do, you divide this particular circle into two parts, okay? So this part represents the variable cost, okay, and if you subtract this selling price minus variable cost, this will give you contribution margin per unit. This will give you contribution margin per unit, or you may represent it by small c. So this portion which I am showing by suppose I take this color, okay, so this portion is what our called contribution margin. This is called contribution margin. Now if we talk about this contribution margin, let me move on to the next slide. Yeah, so let's come to this slide. Let me erase this thing. Hopefully you have understood what is contribution margin. And see, if we talk about this contribution margin is make up of two things. See, let me draw it again. I think it is not drawn perfectly. Yeah. Try to understand this concept. This is very important concept. Once you understand this concept, you can solve any type of break-even point question easily. See, this is our contribution margin. This contribution margin is comprises of two things. The first thing, it comprises of fixed cost, and the second thing, it comprises of the profit. Right. So two things are there in the contribution margin, that is fixed cost and profit. So what I do, I have just exaggerated this particular portion in the form here, and suppose I draw this is the center, this is the point, and I said this particular point, I said this particular region. Okay, and I also said this particular region. So this portion, suppose it represent our fixed cost, and this portion suppose it represent our profit. Right. So you can see this contribution margin, this entire portion contribution margin, it comprises of fixed cost and profit. Right. So what is the meaning of break even point? Break even point means a point at which profit is zero. A point at which profit is zero. Now you can see, if the profit is zero, then this shaded region will become zero, or we can say it quite easily that this entire fixed cost will become equal to our contribution margin. Right? Am I clear? What I'm saying, that what is the meaning of break even point? Break even point means this profit is zero, and when profit is zero, this fixed cost will be equal to contribution margin. Right? So this is how we will calculate it. So now let's go back to this particular question, and let's dive into how to calculate using this particular thing which we have discussed just now. So see, this entire circle is how much? $10. Okay, and this portion which is variable cost is $6. So this portion will be $4. This is $4. Right? Now this $4 is our contribution margin per unit. Okay, and we know at break even point, contribution margin is equal to our fixed cost, and this contribution margin can be written like contribution margin per unit into number of unit is equal to fixed cost. Now you know what is contribution margin per unit, which is nothing but $4. Number of unit we want to know, suppose n is the number of unit, and fixed cost we also know, fixed cost is how much? $2000. So you can simply calculate n is equal to 2000 divided by 4, which is nothing but 500 units. So this 500 units is our what? This is a 500 units is our break even point. That means, what does it mean? That means ABC Limited need to sell 500 widgets to cover all its fixed and variable cost. There will be no profit, but it will be able to cover its fixed and variable cost. At this point, company is not making any profit, but it is not losing money also. It is breaking even. Any sales beyond 500 unit will start generating profit for the company. So understanding break even point is crucial for any business. It helps to set sales target and make informed decision about pricing and cost. Right? Now let's come to the next part of this particular question. Now suppose the next question is, what is the break even point in terms of sales revenue for ABC Limited? Try to understand. Earlier it was asking break even point in units, and we got the answer 500 units. But now the question is in terms of sales revenue. Very good question. So in terms of sales revenue, how can you calculate? It's quite simple. See, you know how many units you require to break even, and you simply multiply the number of units with selling price per unit. Right? You will get break even point in terms of sales. How many units are there? 500 units are there. And what is the selling price per unit? Tell me, what is the selling price per unit? It is nothing but $10. Right? It is nothing but $10. So the break even point in terms of sales revenue is how much? $5,000. So what does this $5,000 represent? So it is the total amount of revenue that ABC Limited needs to generate to cover both its fixed and variable cost. In other words, if ABC Limited brings in $5,000 from selling its widget, it won't make a profit, but it won't incur a loss either. It will just break even. Right? So earlier we calculated break even point in terms of unit, and now we calculated the break even point in terms of sales revenue. Now let's come to the third part of this particular question. The third part is, what is the margin? What does the margin of safety measure? See, first of all, question is asking what does margin of safety measure, and the next part is what is the margin of safety? That's the point. See, margin of safety, what are the options? The difference between actual sales and break even sale. So this is the correct answer. Margin of safety tells you how much your current sale exceeds the break even point. right? How much this is your current sale. Suppose this is your current sale level and this is your break even point level, right? So essentially it measures how much sale can drop before the business start incurring loss. Option B say the total fixed cost covered by the sale. This is wrong. This sound close, but it's actually not what the margin of safety is. Option C says the profit earned beyond the break even point. While this sound close, but it's actually not margin of safety measure. Option D say variable cost and fixed cost difference. This is not margin of safety, right? So the correct answer is option number A. Let's talk about why margin of safety is important. Imagine your business is doing well and you are selling more than the break even amount. The margin of safety tells you by how much. This is crucial because it shows how much sale can drop before you start losing money. For instance, let me give you an example to make it more clear. For instance, suppose your margin of safety is high. So in that case, you have a larger cushion. Right? Which means you can withstand a decline in sale without worrying too much about dipping into loss. On the other hand, a low margin of safety indicates that even a small drop in sale could put you in business at risk. So understanding the margin of safety helps you gauge the financial health of your business. It is a great way to assess risk and make informed decision. So next time you are looking at your sales figure, don't forget to calculate this important matrix, that is margin of safety, right? Hopefully the why option A is correct is clear now. Now, why it is important for a company to calculate this break even point? Very good question. So options are to determine the maximum profit that can be achieved. No, this is wrong, because break even point does not tells you about your profit. It is actually covering cost. Option B says to understand the level of sales needed to cover all costs and avoid losses. See, this is correct answer. The break even point is all about finding out the minimum sales volume required. The break even point is finding the minimum sales volume required to ensure that all the cost, both the fixed and variable, are covered. It is a point where your business is not making a profit, but it is also not incurring any loss, right? Option C says to calculate the amount of debt that can be handled. See, while debt is important consideration for any business, it does not directly relate to the break even point. Option D say to decide the selling price of the product. So setting the selling price involves many factors, but the break even point is specifically help in understanding the sales volume. So why it is knowing your break even point so important? It is simply the foundation of financial planning. If you don't know the minimum amount of sale you need to avoid any losing money, you are flying blind. Understanding your break even point help you set realistic sales target, manage your expense. For example, you know you need to sell 500 units just to break even. You can strategize around that target, whether it is adjusting your marketing effort, cutting cost, or even reevaluating your pricing. So calculating break even point is not just a good practice, it is must for any business that want to stay afloat and grow. It gives you a clear picture of where you stand and what you need to do to succeed. Now let's see the last part of this particular question. If ABC Limited want to achieve a profit of $1,000, how many units must it sell? Very good question. So how many units it must sell to achieve a profit of $1,000? So how to calculate this? So earlier I have told you to do this particular diagram. So see, what is the selling price per unit? Selling price per unit is 10 rupees. What is the variable cost? It was 6 rupees. So this area is how much? 4 unit, which is called contribution margin per unit, right? And in this case, if we exaggerate this particular area, it has been given that profit is $1,000. So this area is profit and this area is fixed cost, right? And fixed cost is given how much? $2,000. I think you remember it. $2,000, right? So you know contribution margin is 4, contribution margin per unit is 4. So we can say contribution margin per unit multiplied by number of unit, this would be equal to how much? 2000 plus 1000, which is equal to 3000, right? And what is the contribution margin per unit? It is nothing but 4. So 4 multiplied by n is equal to 3000, right? So n is equal to how much? 3000 divided by 4, which is equal to 750 units. Is it clear now how to calculate it? No need to remember any formula. Just remember this particular circle. Again I am repeating this question. See what you have to do. The selling price is given 10. The variable cost is given 6, so your contribution margin per unit, which is noted by small c, is equal to 4. And this contribution margin comprises of the two part. The first part is fixed cost, and the second part is what? Your profit, right? So this contribution margin capital C is equal to fixed cost plus profit. What is fixed cost? $2,000. What is profit? $1,000, which is nothing but 3,000. Your contribution margin is 3,000, and contribution margin is represented by contribution margin per unit multiplied by number of unit, which is small c. It is a small c, right? So c into n barabar 3,000. So n is equal to how much? 3,000 divided by small c. And what is a small c? The small c is 4. So it is nothing but 750. Is it clear now? So this way you have to solve such type of problem. You no need to remember any formula, right? So friends, this way you can see we have more questions for your practice. If you want to get access to such type of question, feel free to WhatsApp in this particular number. And if you want the part 2 lecture of this particular session, please write in the comment section. Part 2, I will provide you such type of lecture where your understanding become crystal clear and you will be able to solve such type of problem in examination. You know, this case study